Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. So I just got finished watching the Teen Mom reunion. It was set up like a good bit different this season for some reason. They brought out, like when they brought out the YMP girls, they brought out some of the OG cast members as well, like the members that they thought would relate to that YMP girl. And they kind of had the OG people give some advice to the YMP people. So I'm not going to go over that too much because I really want to talk about what went on with Amber and how she once again stormed off stage, basically making Gary say, like, you get your money from me, thank you. She just got all on a fit once again. This is like every reunion. Amber gets on fits and she walks out. And like, you know, I know she has mental disorders. And so I don't want to seem like I'm going after somebody with mental disorders. But one of the main things that I see from people that comment on my channel that have the same disorders, because I do, if you guys read the comments when I do videos about Amber, I always have people say, I have the same disorders as Amber, or I have the same mental illness as Amber, and I don't act that way. I stay on my medication, I raise my kids, I have a job, blah-de-da-de-da. So I feel like if she's going to therapy like she should and staying on her medication like she should, like, surely 10 years later, she still wouldn't be storming off the stage, right? Wouldn't you guys agree? I don't want to seem like I'm going at her, right? But I am aggravated that she does this every time. Like, it makes me wonder, like, is this an attention type thing? Like, I thought the reunion was going so well, and she even said, like, oh, me and Gary are getting along great. But then she found a reason to get upset over something that I really don't feel like she should have got upset about. You know, maybe that's just a part of her mental illness, is getting upset over something that someone that doesn't have the disorder wouldn't get upset about, right? So let's go ahead and we're going to jump in to what happened on her segment. So they bring Amber out, and of course they congratulate her on how well she's been doing, you know, going to therapy and going to college, and how they're just so proud of her. And then they watch a playback over this past season of Amber on the show. Now, one of the things that really caught my attention, and I was watching Amber down in the corner of the screen, was when they showed that clip where Amber sent a video of herself to Leah, kind of explaining her side of things, and she broke down crying. After Leah watched that clip, she made the comment that she really can't tell if the tears are real or if they're fake, so she just really don't know what to believe. Like, she don't know if her mom is faking it, you know, these emotions, or faking being upset or what. So she still don't know how to feel, what to think, or what to believe. After they showed that rollback footage, they come back to Amber, and you could immediately tell that Amber kind of shut down. So Dr. Drew asked her, you know, why was she shutting down? And she said to hear Leah say things that she reads online is just really disheartening. What I took from her making that statement, I really felt like Amber was trying to say that Leah must have read that online somewhere. Like, well, to hear my daughter say things about me that I read online is just really disheartening. Like, who's letting her read this online? Why is she online reading things about me? But I don't think that's what it was. I think, like, in the clip, we all saw that Leah watched it and immediately made that comment. It wasn't like, you know, she had been online reading about her mom and was like, oh, well, let me say this. I think that was her true emotions that Amber just invalidated. Like, she just kind of pushed off to the side. Like, I don't believe that's how she feels. She must have got that from the internet. I thought that was kind of crappy for her to do, because Amber wants everyone to validate her feelings and her emotions and her mental illnesses, but she will not validate anyone else's, even her child. So that kind of irritated me to hear her say that. After that, though, Dr. Drew explained to Amber that people with borderline personality disorder, that sometimes their emotions can seem a little disconnected from like what they're saying. So he said that he feels like what Leah was reacting to was like the borderline personality and the emotions not kind of conveying what they should have. So that's why Leah was like kind of confused, you know. Now, as Amber is talking to Dr. Drew, she tells Dr. Drew that she really just does not want Leah to write her off like she wrote off her own mother. And Amber explained to them that she kind of come to somewhat of an understanding of Leah's feelings when she was talking to her psychiatrist about her family. She said she was sitting there talking to her psychiatrist, explaining to her psychiatrist that her dad was an alcoholic, that her dad left them a lot. So she felt abandoned. And because her mom worked all the time, that she felt abandoned by her mom as well. And it really made her have a lot of ill feelings and hate towards her dad. And she said that's when it kind of dawned on her, this may be the way that Leah is feeling. Maybe Leah feels towards me the way I felt towards my dad. So let me try to understand that and give her a little grace in that. So that's, she talked about, finally coming to the realization of why Leah felt the way that she felt, and maybe even how Leah was feeling when she thought about how she felt when she was a child and she felt abandoned by her parents. Now, Nessa asked Amber how her relationship with Gary was going, and Amber said that it was going great, that she just has to take Gary as he is. And I'm like, well, great that you can do that, because Gary and his whole family, they have to bend to accommodate you and how you are. You know what I'm saying? So it's great that you can't take him how he is. God forbid that Gary caused any problems and you had to bend and adjust to him, because I just don't know if she would be able to do it. They brought Gary out, and first thing Dr. Drew brings up is Gary finally agreeing to go to therapy with Amber. He asked Gary what did he learn in therapy with Amber, and Gary said that he learned a lot about her mental disorders, specifically borderline personality disorder, that he learned a lot about that. So Dr. Drew asked him, what did he tell Leah about it? What did he tell Leah about her mom's mental illnesses? And Gary said that he explained the highs and the lows, and how Amber can get depressed and not want to do anything, not have any energy, and maybe that can play into like visitations and stuff like that. That it may not be Amber really not wanting to see her, it just may be her mental illness affecting the way that she feels. So therefore she's, depressed and tired and just not wanting to do anything. Dr. Drew told Gary, he said, before knowing this information, I don't feel like you gave Amber a lot of space for her mental illness. And Gary said, probably not. Probably before being informed more about it, I probably didn't give her a lot of grace or a lot of space for this mental illness. I feel like Dr. Drew is so quick to always call out Gary for what he isn't doing right, but he will not call out Amber for what she's not doing right. So it's very frustrating, because I'm like, I get it. You want to be cautious with the people with the mental illnesses, but what about the people around them that have to deal with them, that have dealt with so much heartbreak, so much chaos, so much craziness, so much instability because someone that they know or love has this mental illness? Can we not show them a little grace? Do we have to point out everything that they do wrong as well? Like, my goodness, they're already going through a lot themselves, So it irritates me that Dr. Drew took that time to say, well, before knowing these things, I don't really feel like you gave Amber a lot of space for her mental illness. Like, okay, Dr. Drew, just move along. Show him a little grace like you show Amber, right? Now, at this point, Amber shuts down again, and Dr. Drew asked her, why is she shutting down again? And she said that when they talk about Leah, that it just makes her shut down because she really gets in her feelings when they discuss Leah. However, Dr. Drew compliments her and says, well, I feel like you have the strength now that you can stay present with us without having to shut down. And I think maybe, maybe him making that comment was kind of good on his end, because I feel like it kind of did bring Amber back a little bit. Like, okay, Dr. Drew is saying that I don't have to shut down, so let me show him that I do have the strength to not shut down. Now, after that, Dr. Drew goes back over to Gary, and he asks Gary if he thinks maybe now is the time to get Leah in therapy as well. He asked Gary, he said, so Gary, don't you think it would be a good idea for Leah to see someone too? And Gary responds saying that Leah has been seeing someone, but wanted that to stay private, only giving Gary the permission to let it be known today at that reunion. Gary said that per Leah's request, she did not want this talked about outside of the reunion, but that he did have permission to talk about it that day, specifically at the reunion. Dr. Drew, he looks at Amber and he's like, that's great news, right, Amber? That's awesome. Amber's response is, yes, that's good news had I known about it. She's not even, you would think that she'd be more excited, but she's like, well, yeah, that's great had I known about it. So she's upset that she did not know about it. Dr. Drew suggests that maybe Amber be able to join Leah, like later on sometime in the future. And Amber said, I hope one day when she is comfortable, that can happen. Dr. Drew asked Amber if this is the first of her hearing that Leah was in therapy. And Amber said yes, that this was the first that she had heard about it. Now, Gary said that part of Leah going to therapy was that she did not want anyone knowing. She wanted it to stay private. She wanted to have a place where she felt safe, where she could go in there and express her feelings without other people like trying to meddle into what's going on at her therapy sessions. So she wanted it to stay private. Another thing that Gary pointed out too is she was scared that if Amber knew that she was going to therapy, that Amber would try to push it on her for them to do therapy together. So she wanted to go herself without Amber knowing. That way, when she got comfortable, to let Amber know. So if Amber was pushing that, then maybe she would be to the point to where she would be okay with that at that point, you know. So he told them, you know, like, this is her safe spot, and I wanted to honor that request to keep it private. Now, Gary told Dr. Drew that Leah, in her therapy sessions, that she is working on different things, different techniques that she could use to help start communicating with her mom, that is the end goal, that she is going there to kind of talk about her feelings from, you know, being raised the way that she was raised, and work on ways so she can start reconnecting with her mother, that is the goal. Dr. Drew asked Gary how many times has Leah been to therapy, and Gary tells them that it's been about 10 times, that she's been to therapy about 10 times. And I guess this is where Amber really got irritated, but I do have to give her props. I really do have to give Amber props right here, because this does seem like a point where she got irritated, but she didn't just start yelling and screaming. She didn't start name calling. That happened later on. But she kind of did just have like a conversation with him. You could tell that she was frustrated, but she didn't jump right into yelling and screaming and cussing. So I was proud about that. She turned to Gary and she said, here's the thing. I am her mother. I need to understand what Leah is going through. So I believe the communication should have been there for that. I also think that Leah is a child. She is not an adult, and I am her mother. Gary interrupted, and he was like, so you don't think it's okay for her not to tell you in order to help herself? Like, if this is what we need to do for her to start going to therapy to help herself, which in turn will help her relationship with you, you don't think it's okay for us not to tell you? And then Amber responded, like, no, she don't have to tell me. That's fine. She don't have to tell me, but you should have told me. You're the adult. You should have told me that she was going to therapy. That should have been something that I knew. I disagree, and this is my stance on it. Their situation is very unique. It really is. You know, any other situation where the co-parenting is fine and the child had not grown up in the environment that they had grown up in and have the feelings they have towards their other parent, if you were going to put your child in therapy for anything else, you know, outside of issues with their other parent, then yes, I think that's a conversation that you could have with the other parent. Like, hey, so our child is going through this. Our child is misbehaving at school. Our child is doing XYZ. So, I want to put the child in therapy. What do you think about it? And have that conversation. But when the issue is with the other parent and the fact that the child wants nothing to do with the other parent, and the child has finally decided, yes, I'll go to therapy, but I don't want the other parent to know right now, then I think it's okay to honor that, in my opinion. You guys can leave me your thoughts about that in the comment section below. Now, Gary did tell Amber that he didn't want to tell her because he didn't want to break his daughter's trust, that Leah was not ready for Amber to know that yet, that she just decided before the reunion that it was okay for Gary to talk about it at the reunion. But before that Leah didn't want anyone to know about it, and he was scared that if he told anybody, that it would break Leah's trust. And I agree. I think it would have. I definitely think it would have broke her trust. And she already has enough issues with like trust, abandonment, and stuff like that. The one person that has given her stability, if he goes off and breaks her trust, then where's she going to be? So I think it was smart for Gary to not say anything until she was comfortable. Now, I do kind of wonder, maybe when she made the decision, okay, Dad, you can bring this up at the reunion. I'm okay with that. Maybe if I was Gary, I would have said, well, if we're going to bring it up at the reunion and you're okay with it being out there, can I maybe tell your mom on the plane going so this isn't sprung on her on national television? Can I give her a little bit of a warning, of a little heads up that this is coming out and that we're going to talk about this? I think I probably would have done that, because telling on TV, I kind of understand, but still, I don't think he should have told before or any during those 10 sessions. When Leah said, okay, I'm fine with my mom knowing now, that's when he should have told. That's just my opinion. Now, Amber, though, she had a different opinion. She said that it would not be breaking Leah's trust. She said by telling her and being the adult, it would not be breaking Leah's trust. Gary turned to Amber and said, I'm trying to let you know now that she feels comfortable. But before he could get the rest of that sentence out, Amber cut him off and said, well, thank you for letting me know while I have a camera in front of my face. She then went on to say that everything that Gary does is for the cameras. And Gary, shocked, he was like, no, it's not. Like, what are you talking about? I don't do anything for the cameras. I thought that was a low blow. I thought that was not fair for her to say that. And this, I felt like this is probably like her borderline personality or maybe her bipolarness is like coming out for her to start behaving this way and taking these low blows. Now, Dr. Drew interrupts them and kind of gives his attention to Amber, and he says, so this was an error or mistake in your mind, right? And Amber gets upset and she says that errors and mistakes have been going on for years. That every time she finds out something, it's in front of a camera. And I'm like, girl, yes. Mistakes and errors have been happening the whole 10 years I've been watching you. But normally, you're the one making the mistakes. You're the one making the errors, and everyone has to forgive you. So why can't you forgive Gary if he made a mistake once or twice? You know, like the whole 10 years, like you've been getting arrested, and all these things have been happening. And I understand it's due to your mental illness, but people have been showing you grace. People have been forgiving you. Gary is still up on this stage trying to work with you, trying to co-parent with you, when really he don't have to. He really don't. I mean, there's nothing saying that he has to go to therapy with you. There is nothing saying that he has to invite you to his house for family gatherings, for Leah's birthday. He don't have to do that. But he tries and he tries. And when he makes a mistake, or what you consider a mistake, all of a sudden it's, well, let me talk crap about you. Let me say that you do everything for television. Let me say X, Y, Z. So yes, I agree that errors and mistakes have been made a lot. But more so on her end than on Gary's end. And she just wants people to show her grace and forgive her. Now, Dr. Drew asked if going forward, if Leah would allow Gary to keep Amber informed of what's going on. And Gary responded and said that he is doing what Leah is comfortable with. That if that means keeping Amber informed in regards to therapy and her going to therapy, then absolutely he would. But if Leah asked for things to remain private in regards to, you know, her going or what's happening while there, then he will honor that. Dr. Drew advised Gary to talk to the therapist to find out what the boundaries should be. And I'm like, how do you know that he hasn't? How do you know that Gary hasn't talked to the therapist and said, hey, is this a good idea for me not to inform her mother? Should I tell her mother anyway, even though she's telling me not to? Like, how do we know Gary hasn't had that conversation? But Dr. Drew was saying, you need to talk to the therapy, see what the boundaries are, see if you keeping Amber out of the loop is a good thing or if it's a bad idea. Dr. Drew then tells Gary that it's Amber's position that Gary is putting Leah in charge of the therapy, and that you don't do that you don't allow a child to be in charge of the therapy. Amber agrees with what Dr. Drew said, but Gary tries to tell them that that's not the case, that he's not putting Leah in charge of the therapy. He's just trying to honor her feelings in what's going on with her going to see a therapist. Now, Gary tries to tell Amber that he couldn't tell Amber that Leah was in therapy because she asked him to keep it private. And then Amber, she gets upset and she says, everything you do is for TV. She gets up and she storms off, telling Gary just to live his life. Just to go live his life. And I'm like, if I was Gary, I'd be like, thank you. Yes, I'll do that now. Can we wrap this up, Dr. Drew, so I can fly back home and live my life free of Amber Portwood drama? That's what I would do. Like, Amber, don't tell this man to go live his life. Because when he tries to live his life, then you're complaining that, you know, he's not responding to you and that he's keeping, you know, Leah from you. If Gary was to just go live his life the way that Gary wanted to, then I would imagine it would not consist of all these extra things that he's been doing to try to make things work and co-parent with her, right? Now, before getting too far, she turns around and she walks back up to Gary, asking him, how does he make his money? Literally, she's like, how do you make your money, Gary? Be honest. How do you make it? Gary, sarcastically, he's like, you You. I make it from you. Thanks, Amber, for making me this money. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I appreciate it so much. And she turns around to walk off and she's like, that's right, you're welcome. And I'm just like mind blown. She walks up to the producer complaining about how Gary makes his money off of her and blah, 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 blah. Before the mic cuts out, she makes a comment about Christina, saying, Christina, you want to keep secrets from me? I just would like to know what my daughter is doing and what's going on with her. I don't know why it was necessary to throw Christina's name out there. Christina is married to Gary. Her job is to back him up. If he's saying, we're not going to tell Amber, could you imagine if Christina was like, nope, going to tell Amber, let me pick up the phone and text her and let her know, behind her husband's back or behind Leah's back? That's not what you do. As a partner, Christina is to stand by her man, and that's what she did. I think Christina felt that this was the right decision to make. I feel like Christina loves Leah just like her own child, and there is no way that Christina was going to go to Amber with this information. I don't think she should have, and I don't think that makes her a bad person. As the spouse, you stand by your man. She is the stepmother, so that's what her position should be, and I think that's what it was. So I think, once again, it's a low blow to even say anything about Christina. I was just so irritated watching this. And once again, I'm going to have people in the comment section I already know saying, she's got a mental illness. Like, you shouldn't talk about her like that. I'm not saying anything terrible about her. I wish her well. Like, I really wish that Amber could live a happy, productive life without treating people the way that she treats people. And also, I gave her credit for remaining calm as long as she did. My irritation, though, is that people have accepted her apologies and continued to come back and allow her into their lives when they really don't have to. They don't have to. And she just continues to do things like this. Like, when will it stop? At some point, Gary and Christina have to set boundaries for their family. Because when Amber goes on these rants, it affects Gary, it affects Christina, especially if she goes on rants on social media and talks badly about Christina. Christina's got other kids. Then now, not only does Leah have to see what her mother is saying about her stepmother, but Christina's kids have to deal with it and hear about it as well. So at that point, when it started affecting like the family like that, I would cut it off. I'd be like, okay, we're not doing this. I mean, I get it, like a couple times, showing her grace, accepting the apology and trying again. But it's been 10 years where it's just been this roller coaster of instability, them letting her back into their lives for her only to cause chaos once again. So I hope before they went home, she was able to calm down and make amends and apologize for what she said. And I hope Gary, even stood up to say, listen, maybe I should have let you know before we went on, in front of the cameras. I didn't mean for it to happen that way, but Leah asked me to keep it a secret, so that's what I did. But, maybe I could have told you when we were on our way, sitting in first class together, because apparently they rode first class together on the way there. Maybe I should have done that. I do believe, maybe it was a mistake, but I don't think that Gary should have told her before Leah said that she was ready for that. Also, I think probably what took place is Leah's been going to therapy. Gary knew he was going to the reunion. And what comes up at the reunion every year? Therapy. When are you going to allow Leah into therapy? I think Gary set Leah down and said, listen, they always talk to me about therapy. They always tell me how you should be in therapy. So what do you want me to say to that? If you just want me to say, okay, we're working towards that, then that's what I'll say. But if you're comfortable with me saying she is in therapy, then I'll say that. But it's whatever you want me to say. I think that conversation was had, and I think Leah said, okay, I'm fine with you, putting it out there now. So I don't think he, intentionally waited till in front of the cameras. I think he had that conversation with Leah and was like, it's going to be brought up. What do you want me to say? How do you want me to handle it? Do you want me to let everyone know? Are you comfortable with the world knowing now that you're in therapy or no? So that's what I think happened. Watching this, it just irritates me because I want to see everyone to have a happy, peaceful life. And I really feel like Amber kind of messes that up for Gary and Christina. And in the way that she talks about them and mistreats them and the whole, how do you make your money? How do you make your money? You need to be thankful to me that you make your money the way that you make it. It's because of this show. I'm sorry, but Amber Portwood, you did not impregnate yourself. Just as much as didn't they turn in the audition tapes together? Gary and Amber, you know, got this part on this show. It wasn't just Amber. Amber did not get pregnant by herself. She got pregnant with the help of Gary. So if I was Gary, I'd be like, well, how did you get pregnant? Thank you. You know, maybe give me a little thanks, because the reason you got on the show is because you were a teen mom. And the only way you were a teen mom is because I did it. So where's my thanks? I mean, if she's constantly going to throw the show up and that's how he's making his money, I would be like, well, girl, I'm the one that impregnated you. Also, I don't think this is Gary's only income. I think, well, we know that a while back it was said that Gary was a police officer. Not sure if he still does that type of work, but they have rent houses, from my understanding. They farm, and I think they like sell some of their crops, I think, like tomatoes and stuff like that. And I think Christina used to work as well. So I don't think this is their only source of income. But either way, once again, low blow for her to throw that in Gary's face, that she is the reason that he has, you know, makes the money that he makes. Immature, just immature in my book. You guys leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about what went down at the reunion? Do you think that Amber, she maybe acted a little bit better this time? She didn't get as irate as she normally does. So you guys think that it was an improvement? Let me know. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Make sure you give this video a huge thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye, everyone.